I mean, we put a lot into this, into the players and getting to know them, and the roster is going to change, and that's part of the business that we're in, and we always want to make those transactions as respectful as possible, and but that's part of the game, and that's kind of the life we've chosen. So there'll be some conversations that we'll have with players over the next few days. And we will keep those obviously very respectful, and hopefully some of those guys can either end up back on our team or on somebody else's.
It's the hard part of the business. Somebody ain't gonna make it. Vrabel was nice there with how he said it, but basically there's gonna be changes made means you're not making the team. How's that sound? Good luck in your future, though. Right back here on Boston has entered the chat, Jon Lyons. I call him WEEI's prodigal son. Welcome back, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back.
Happy to be back.
A lot of clap-ups today.
I mean, you hear Vrabel say that. Yeah. We'll get into some bubble guys here. But look, Casey and I left off in the last segment talking about the wide receivers. I said I think the Jalen Polk injury, if anything, provided some clarity. What do you see? We're going to get into all the bubble guys, but let's go wide receiver. Who's getting voted off this island for wide receivers?
Yeah, you bring up Jalen Polk. I think that injury, in a way, saved his spot on the team because being there at training camp, and you were there for some of the practices, I know, and me being down there, I just don't think he did enough to surpass any of those guys on the depth chart. And then you look at Javon Baker. He's done some special teams work, but you already have Brendan Schooler as kind of a designated special teams player. Do you want another designated punt gunner type guy? Like, I don't think so. And Kendrick Bourne, love the guy, enjoyed everything he did here, but he's been hurt for a couple weeks now. He could maybe be a PUP or an IR candidate. I don't know if I see him making, because you look at the top of this receiver group, Diggs is obviously going to be there.
Pop.
Like Mac Hollins, Pop, Booty, Chisholm, Kyle Williams. Like, that's 6 guys right there. And are you going to keep more than 6 when you have concerns on your offensive line, when you have some concerns about your safety depth? Like, are you going to keep more than 6 receivers?
I think you go 6.
I don't see them keep more than 6.
And you make a good case for all the guys, like obviously Bourne dealing with injuries, Polk getting injured, but Baker has not done enough. Here's my thing. Before Case goes, I have to go off on a tangent here because I've been saying Elliott Wolf, in my opinion, is not being held accountable for this. Like, I get the Drake Maye draft. Everyone's giving him credit for that. But, like, duh, take Drake Maye. Like, if anything, he didn't overthink and take J.J. McCarthy, right? But I'm not going to give you a cookie for taking the obvious guy, right? I look at Javon Baker, and I look at Jalen Polk. Those are wasted draft picks. I'm sorry. And I understand Jalen Polk, because Casey has checked me on this, and she's right. He could come back and he could contribute and he could help your team. I'm not writing off his future, okay? But what I've seen so far, it's been a waste. Javon Baker's about to get cut. Those were wasted draft picks you could have used on an offensive lineman or better receivers who were on the board when these guys were on the board.
Right.
No one's holding Elliott Wolf accountable in town except moi. Why?
And I would add to it, Caden Wallace and Layden Robinson both could not make the team, who were also drafted in that draft as well. And I think Caden Wallace is a borderline guy. Like, I could see him making it, but as your 8th or 9th offensive lineman.
And is it because of the position of this offensive line right now, or the state of this offensive line?
I think it's a great point.
That's right. Why?
I think that's a big part of it, right? Because if I'm sitting here talking about him as maybe your 8th or 9th guy in a better offensive line, maybe he doesn't make it.
He doesn't make it.
And look, I do give him credit for drafting Maye because he still made the pick. But I think that pick was out of Maye or Daniels, whoever was there, they were just going to take.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't overthink.
Right. He still did it. So he didn't take Michael Penix or Bo Nix.
That's right.
And not that those guys are bad, but I think Maye's better. But yeah, beyond that, I mean, he trades out of the Ladd McConkey potential pick to get Polk, and then Baker, Wallace, all these guys. And you go back to their last few drafts. I mean, the biggest reason, Trav, and you know this, that Bill Belichick is in here still, is that they didn't draft well from 2017 to 2022.
Right.
They might have one guy left from 2022 at the end of this week, and that'd be Marcus Jones. Like, that's not good enough. And we're looking at maybe a similar thing with the 2024 draft. And I think, I don't know about you guys, you can feel good about 2025. Like, I think Will Campbell will be a good player. Travion Henderson's been really explosive. It feels like they have some pieces there. Kyle Williams has looked good. But if you're going to get out of where they've been, you got to have to stack a couple, 2, 3, 4 good drafts in a row.
That's right.
And they just haven't done that.
Wait, so then to Travis's point, I'm very curious. Say that everybody was healthy in the wide receiving room. Say we got an opportunity to see these guys at most of their potential throughout training camp. How do you think the 6 men would have shaken out coming out of the wide receiving room? Like, what do you think that would have looked like?
Honestly, Casey, I don't think it'd be much different. I mean, maybe they would convince themselves to keep 7 and Kendrick Bourne would be the 7th because he played for McDaniels. He had 800 yards receiving in 2021. I feel like Josh does like working with him, but I just look, again, Diggs is a no-brainer lock. Mac Hollins at 6'4", gives them something they don't have, and he's been good. Demario Douglas is a no-brainer lock. And I think Kayshon Boutte, to his credit, has probably shown more improvement than any other player over the past 6 months. So to me, he's there. Kyle Williams, I think, is a lock. He's got a great skill set. And I know he hasn't put a lot on the stat sheet, but we saw in that Washington game him getting open left and right and the ball was underthrown. Or there was, penalties not called or whatever. But he's there. So then it really came down to Efton Chisholm, even before these injuries, he was out playing Polk, he was out playing Baker, and I think he was out playing Bourne. So, again, I think the only thing that might have changed if all these guys are healthy is maybe they could have talked themselves into keeping a guy like Bourne as a veteran 7th receiver.
And I love that this system is built for guys that have that undrafted path. I mean, not to continue to add to that conversation, but I feel like that wasn't overhyped from the beginning. And,
and even Demario Douglas, 6th-round pick, right?
That's right.
Big part of this.
Yeah.
Okay, can you talk to me like I'm a kindergartner about Keon White? Because I'm so confused with this. I don't understand. First of all, he plays last night, and I'm like, why is he playing? Then I'm seeing on Twitter, all over my timeline, that it's rumors he may get cut. I'm like, this kid's really talented. What am I missing? Is he in the doghouse with Vrabel? Like, what's going on? By the way, he plays last night, and he didn't do jack shnikes.
That's what I was going to say.
He had like 2 tackles.
Last night showed us maybe why
he should have dominated last night. He's playing against people that are bagging groceries. Go kill these guys. And he did not. What's going on with him?
Right. It's a lot different than Anthony Jennings, who played against Minnesota and had 3 sacks, right? Kind of a similar situation. Look, Keon White is 6'5", 285. He's strong. He's explosive. He's going to be part of this team. And I still think he can have a pretty good year. What I think it comes down to is Harold Landry's a pretty good player that has familiarity with Mike Vrabel. So he's going to start at one edge. And a guy who, and I just mentioned Kayshon Boutte and about him improving, a guy who might have had the best training camp of anyone is Kayvon Chason at the other edge. He's been really good. I think he's earned that spot. And Keon White has had, I think, some inconsistencies, like in that joint practice against Washington. I thought Laramie Tunsil got him a few times, but
it's Laramie Tunsil.
He got him back, too, in the 11-on-11. So, again, I think Keon White is still a part of this. And I think Anthony Jennings, a bubble guy, could also be part of that edge group as well. I think it's more about they like Harold Landry, and he's a pretty good player that has familiarity with Vrabel. And Chason has had a terrific training camp. And look, has Keon White gone out there and grabbed the position and gone after it as much as I would have liked to have seen? No. But I don't think he's been bad. I don't think. I just think Chason's been better than him.
Other guys have outperformed.
Yeah, I think that's really been the story of it.
Okay.
And I mean, it fits the bill for what Vrabel said is going to matter when it comes to competing for spots out here. It doesn't matter your name or your contract. You got to be able to fit the bill. Somebody else that had some conversation around his name, especially last night, Peppers being in the mix, Jabril Peppers. What have you made of him so far?
Yeah, I think he's probably their top safety. And you saw him start last night, which might have raised some eyebrows. I think a lot of that was getting him snaps with Craig Woodson, because I think they're looking at their safety group is Peppers and Woodson are the 2 top guys. And don't forget Jalen Hawkins, who I know last year they win 4 games, everything's bad. He played 600 snaps at free safety last year. Like, he was out there a lot. And when I was at practice, their top 3 safeties were those 3 guys. And it feels like it's been that way in the preseason. And I know Marcus Epps is, fought for a roster spot. Kyle Duggar's still kind of hanging out there. And I think he'll maybe make the roster as that 4th safety. But I really think Peppers, Woodson, and Hawkins, that's their top 3 safeties. And then it comes down to, with Mike Vrabel, do you want to use 3 safeties a lot? Do you want to use 3 corners a lot with Marcus Jones there? And some of that might be matchups. It might be just his personal preference. But I thought, like last night, to me, I looked at that and I said, I think maybe they want to get Peppers and Woodson some snaps together just in game situations. You notice they pulled them pretty quickly. I think the second series or so they pulled them. But I think that's kind of how they envision their safety group.
Yeah, and I mean, we want to see as much versatility as possible. It's going to keep this team sharp. You mentioned Duggars, and from the post-game press conference, it sounds like he made more of a case to stay on this team, because the past couple of days, it's like he could be on the chopping block, he can be in a trade of some sort, and now it feels like Vrabel may have seen enough of him getting acclimated in the system or getting better suited for the scheme. So do you think that he maybe secured himself a spot? Yeah,
I think if someone gives them a good trade offer, I could see him getting moved. But otherwise, I think he's going to stay around, because I think, look, he struggled last year. He didn't play while Andy was hurt. I still think there's a good enough player in there that's worthy of keeping around at least to start the year. See if you can work him into situations.
I love his frame, too, especially for this system.
Yeah, and I wonder if they'll use him similar to a few years ago, the way the Patriots used Adrian Phillips. It was a safety that they brought down and almost played hybrid linebacker a lot, and I think that's where Kyle Duggar is at his best. Right? He's not going to be in the middle of the field covering passes, and not that it's just not really his game, but downhill against the run, I think that's where, or in the box, I think that's where he can be successful. And it is a thin linebacker group, the Patriots have. I mean, we all like Robert Spillane. Beyond him, I mean, Ellis is, I think, more of a special teamer. Like, Gibbons has shown some, Tavai has shown some, but nobody's really jumped out at me besides Spillane.
Yeah.
So maybe they can find a way to work Duggar kind of in a mix of that group. I do think, I would say he's on the bubble. Like,
yeah.
I would say that.
Wow.
But I think there's just too good of a football player in there to outright cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'd have to eat some money, too.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
that
Make some
they don't have it to
maneuvers.
eat, but you would have to, and you don't want to do that if
Take
you
it
don't
out
have
of the
to.
Lighthouse Fund.
Yeah,
Eat the money a little bit. Yeah.
I see what you did there. I like it. Any more bubble guys before I turn to gambling with you? Because that's what I'm all
Oh, my
about.
goodness.
Yeah, look, I think the other guy, and I mentioned his name, is Anthony Jennings. It's similar to Duggar. I think it's too good a player to just outright cut.
Yeah.
I know he's not maybe quite as good of a scheme fit as he used to be, but I still think against the run, he's good on the edge. The numbers don't pop out at you when you look at the stats last year, but when you watch him week to week, that's a good football player, and I'd like for them to find a way to keep him. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets cut or traded because, again, it's Landry, it's Chason, it's White. Those are clearly, I think, your top three. We'll see. And Braden Swinson, I think, is a guy they just drafted that, with some development, I think could be a good player.
Right.
I just think Jennings is, again, like Duggar, there's a good player in there, and I would want to try to keep him around. But another guy on the bubble.
All right, now, Case and I talk about this every day. So we're somewhere between, I think you even said yesterday, your floor for this team is 6 wins.
Yeah.
But if you go around town and you talk to people, you can hear from 6 wins to 11 wins. People are going crazy.
Upset about 11 wins.
Yeah, like people are going crazy in terms of the range for wins with this team. If you had to bet on one number,
Oh, my goodness.
what would you bet on
9
for the Patriots?
right now?
9
Yeah, it
and
would be
8.
9 for me. And coming into training camp, I was at 8. And they've shown me enough in training camp that I can say, all right, maybe they'll win 9 and have a winning record. And you look at the last couple of years, as bad as they were in 23 and 24, how many one-possession losses were there? I mean, 10-7 against the Giants, 10-6 against the Colts a couple of years ago. Last year, you lose to Seattle in overtime. You lose to Tennessee in overtime. They're going to win some of those games. They won't win all those one-possession games, but they won't lose them all like they have been the last few years. And the schedule's more favorable. And I just think this team, the top-end talent, is at another level than it was the last couple of years.
Okay, your reasoning was, you said you saw enough in training camp, right?
Yeah.
I want to stay there, but Drake Maye centric.
Okay.
I liked what I saw from Drake Maye in training camp. I like what I saw from him in the practices, in the joint practices. I didn't see enough in the preseason, in my opinion, from Drake Maye. I saw some mistakes. I saw some good plays, too. But I wanted one more game. Case and I talked about this yesterday, where I understand why he didn't play against the Giants, but I felt like I needed a little more from Drake Maye. You're confident from what you've seen so far from him specifically that you're good with 9 wins? Because I wanted a little bit more. I think he needs more reps.
Yeah, and I was even hoping in that Minnesota game maybe would play the whole first half.
Yeah.
Like if you're not going to play him against the Giants, play that whole first half. And you saw in that Minnesota game, I thought the first drive he was shaky.
He was.
And then the second drive I thought he was a lot better.
He did the same against the Commanders.
Yes.
And I would say in the joint practice against the Commanders, he was better than Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, he was.
And not that Jaden Daniels was bad, but I thought Maye was better.
He was.
And in the joint practices against the Vikings, and the three of us talked about this last week, that could be the best defense they faced all year. And in day 1 of that, he stood up really well.
Yeah,
and in
was
day
money.
2, it was a little shakier, but from all reports and everyone that was there, it wasn't so much him as it was the O-line.
line.
And look, I think if you look at what he had to work on at the end of last year, biggest thing was turnovers. The next biggest thing was hitting the checkdowns and not trying to do too much. I think he's done a much better job hitting checkdowns in training camp, which I know, not a sexy thing, but it helps you win games. I mean, how many times in 25 years have we seen them hit checkdowns and win games? The turnover thing he's going to have to keep working on. He had the bad one against Washington. What I will say in that Washington game, though, bad turnover, how did he respond to it? Well, he led a touchdown drive right after. He responded well. He could have turtled, right? He could have let that snowball on itself. So I like to see that response. And I think if you look at Josh McDaniels' history and take Brady out of it, whether it was with Matt Castle, who hadn't played since high school, in 2016, the combination of Garoppolo and Brissett, 2021 Mac Jones, all young guys.
Yeah, Cam too, right? Cam Newton.
Cam in 2020.
Yeah.
But even, I'm thinking those 3 years, because those were all young players.
Sure.
Some of them rookies, that he got by the end of those years to play well. I mean,
Yeah.
Matt Castle threw for 400 yards in back-to-back games. He's the only Patriots quarterback ever to do that. Brady never did that.
Right.
You know, he had Mac Jones looking like a rookie of the year in
Yeah, he
late
did.
November. And we know that Mac is not so good, right? So that's where I think you look at, that's my confidence level too. It's the
Okay.
Josh factor. I think, and I do think Maye has been better. And there's things to work on still, totally. Yeah. But I think he's been better.
All right.
Sticking with Drake Maye for a minute, because part of the argument that I think could be made and valid is to start developing confidence and to not make some of those turnovers because of the decisiveness that has to be made in those situations. The offensive line really does, he has to have a little bit more faith in the offensive line in front of him, right? So how much would you pin off to maybe it can be contributed to the offensive line being shaky, and how much is like he's dusting off bad habits while getting situated in a new system?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. It's a collective effort, right? And I've talked about this on EEI, New England Football Journal, as well. Yeah, everyone points to, okay, the left tackle got beaten, the quarterback gets sacked, but it's 5 guys in the protection, but it's also Maye getting the ball out quick enough, receivers getting open quick enough, the play call in the situation. Like, it's going to be a collective effort for them to succeed in this passing offense. And I think a huge part of it is the offensive line. And look, the offensive line is in a better place than it was a year ago. But
It can't be any worse.
But I think, and that's the point, right? We can't equate they're in a better place to, they're going to be a great offensive line.
Yeah.
Right? So they might go from...
There's got to be middle mud there.
Yeah.
Right, they might go from 32nd a year ago to 21st or 22nd,
Sure.
which is a big jump, but then we're still talking about the 21st line in the league, right? Not very
Right,
good.
right.
So I think he'll have some more confidence, but that's going to be a big part of it. In week 1, I mean, we're a couple of weeks away from Max
Yes, we
Crosby.
are.
In week 1, that's not going to be easy.
But I keep circling.
And then week 2, you're going, and look, I know the Dolphins have had some issues and they fade at the end of seasons, but you're going there in week 2.
Yeah.
That's not going to be easy.
Still hot.
That
Their first
Steelers
couple of weeks
defense in
have
week
spoken for
3.
themselves.
Yeah, it's not going to be, from a protection standpoint, it is not going to be an easy start for them.
I love that you mentioned the factors, too, because I was telling Travis yesterday, we've seen good things and great connections between Maye and Diggs in practice, so we know where he has confidence in some of these connections, but we didn't see that in the preseason, so that's why I'm not too hung up on, like, not seeing enough from him. I think his reps are coming in practice. I think we're going to have to give him the right timeline and runway to develop as a sophomore quarterback, but that's going to happen throughout the season. We can't expect him to make this massive leap week 1.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to make excuses for him here, but I know you're talking about him as a sophomore quarterback. It's almost like he's in year 1.5.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, he only started 26 games at North Carolina.
Right.
Last year, he only starts 12 games, but if you look at those games, I mean, the Jets game, he doesn't finish because of injury.
Yeah.
The Bills game, they pull him at the end of the year. So, I mean, what did he play, 10 full games with a staff that all got
Great
fired?
point.
Learning
Right?
a new system, that adds to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I say I feel better about him in training camp. Am I going to be shocked, though, if in September he has 1 or 2 bad games? No. Does that mean his season is down the drain? No. But I wouldn't, I don't think he's going to come out and they're going to go 3-1 and he's going to look like a top 7 quarterback. I think it's going to take some time. If he can go from where he was last year to top 15 quarterback in the league, again, that's a step forward. Like, that's what this whole year is about. Can they go from being one of the worst teams in the NFL to even average? And I know around here, right, we don't want to hear about average. We don't want to hear about, hey, this team can be just better than it was a year ago. But that would be a step forward. Like, whether we like it or not, that would be a step forward.
In order to be a winning team in 3 years, you've got to
right.
be the okay team now.
Yeah, to go from the 4th pick to the 15th pick in the first round would be a huge improvement.
For sure.
Again, it's not the AFC Championship game, but that's the step they're going to have to take.
Patriots, 3-point favorites at home week 1 against the Raiders. You laying the points?
Oh, I'll be there.
You're there?
And that's an uphill battle for the Patriots. I'll tell you
so
that.
you're with Casey. Casey's like, that could be upset
I don't
alert.
want to underestimate the situation.
Yeah.
And frankly, I don't think it would be an upset because I mentioned Max Crosby before.
All right.
And I know they have a new head coach, new quarterback, Pete Carroll and Geno Smith. Those guys have worked together before, though, in Seattle.
God, you sound like Casey.
It's not a new combo. And that's a good head. And Ashton Jeanty
I try to steer
looks
away
good.
from I
Toby,
told you so.
drive me to the Zachem,
I try to
throw me
steer
off.
away from I told you so.
I don't think it would be an upset if the Raiders win that game. I'm not going as far as to pick them yet, but I don't think that would be an upset.
All right, well, when we come back, Jon Lyons and Casey Hudson will carry the rest of the show. Toby's driving me to the Zachem, and I'm jumping! I am laying the points. Patriots are going to whoop the Raiders. I'm so tired of everyone. Oh, with the Raiders, Max Crosby, Geno, they suck. Well, Max doesn't. Geno sucks.
Actually, I almost
Patriots
said
are gonna
something.
blow them out.
I'm like, the last time you. No, never mind.
No, I know.
This is not call out
617-7.
your coworker day. Sorry.
617-790-0928. Call us if you want to talk Pats and you agree with John and Casey. You probably do, because no one ever agrees with me, ever. John, we appreciate you, bro.
Hey,
Thank you, my man. All right, thanks for partying with us here. We're coming right back. Stay with us. More drama between Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft. Yeah, again. We'll talk about it next.